change, because even some of his older videos, which he's one of the few people that I really respect in the fact that sometimes when people who have a channel that have been around for a long time, as they mature and as they change their viewpoints and their tone on certain things, they go back and they'll hide all their own videos. I laugh because I remember Omar at a time when we used to collab, and he was really most well known for a lot of his cooking videos. So he was known as Chef Buff, and he had like we call them pennies, like those old like mesh jerseys you used to wear in like gym class, that you like reversible, and he would sell those with Chef Buff on them and like a picture of him flexing. And he made this whole big video about how bread's bad for you and all this stuff. And I still go back to watch it every now and then to get a chuckle, but it's awesome to see the growth between what he's done with that. He owns, I'm not sure if you're familiar, he owns or is part owner of Position Shoe Company. So an actual weightlifting shoe company. He has his Rascal Apparel, which is great. I have a bunch of the shirts that they've done through that. He's had his hand in 2 different supplement companies now, Ouroboros and now Elemental Formulations, I think it's called. And then obviously with the History Channel now, it's just really awesome to see him do that, especially the fact that he's in Canada. No shade to Canada, but typically you see a lot more of the opportunities when it comes to YouTube and stuff like that to the people in the States. So big shout out to Omar. That's awesome that he's been doing so well.
Kudos to him. I think it's just kind of an amazing thing that someone in this area has kind of achieved that accomplishment at this point. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I always laugh because back in the day, and I haven't done it recently, but I always used to use my channel as a way to spotlight other channels. So I'd say, hey, you make great content. Will you make me a video? I'll put it on my channel so people get to see your great content. And in return, you basically get to leverage my audience to go to your channel and subscribe. And one of the biggest or funniest ones to me was, I don't know if you follow him, but Matt Does Fitness. He's a person out in England. He makes a lot of just like training, but also like him and his family. And he's a really funny dude. And I think at the point in time that he did a video for me, he might've had like 3,000 subscribers. And right now he's sitting at like 2.5 million subscribers. So he's just like, and he's still cool because like I'll comment on his videos here and there, and he still like gives me shout outs all the time. So I'm really appreciative of that, but it's cool to see a lot of the people that like I don't want to say necessarily helped, but at least showed some people them see their growth. Like Nick Bear is another one that comes to mind who has a super popular channel now and a super popular supplement company. My buddy Travis has one too. The list goes on, but it's really cool to see how some of these at the time, just like, hey, can you just give me like a throwaway video? Cause I like what you do. I want to give you some exposure to see where they've taken their channels and how they've grown.
Yeah. So I know being popular on social media sometimes brings your family part of your life into the mix, and that might be a little challenging at times. How has, your family played a role into your fitness goals, maybe even your channel and so on?
Yeah. So I've actually kept them out of it. I think my wife has been in maybe like 3 of my videos, all of which were like pre-wedding. So that's when I referred to her as the Beyonce. My kids have made like maybe really cameos, but nothing where I'm like turning a camera on them and saying, hey, do something for the camera. And I think that goes back to kind of just like what I said before is like, I'm just a dude in the basement who likes to talk about training and gym. And I don't want to try to necessarily leverage my family for attention or views, but also they haven't shown any interest in being in a video. So I'm not going to push that. So it's just not something that I've really approached or gone with, which probably is a detriment because I think there was a big shift from just like training type videos to many people going like the lifestyle route of like, hey, here's us on vacation, or hey, here's us doing this. Just not something that was interesting to me. So I just never kind of went down that road.
And personally, I think it takes the channel off focus. We sometimes see your wife training in the background, and it's nice when there's a shared common lifestyle of sorts. Does that help you to sustain your motivation and goals?
Yeah, I think so. So before we built the gym, we were dating, we would always try to go to the gym together when we could. Obviously, our training styles are very different. She's very into yoga and more what I would say conditioning style training. So, like circuit style training where it's get your heart rate up, get a sweat going, do a lot of stuff, not heavy weight, but more reps for more work. And that is not something I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about that now is down here in the basement, the only thing we really fight over is who gets to ride the Peloton.
Yeah.
So if we're both down here, because we usually like to both start off our training days, like getting on the bike, getting a little warm. But otherwise, we're doing our own thing. And it also worked out well for me because sometimes my purchases go over better knowing that she's on board because she wants to use it versus her just looking at me wasting money on gym equipment, which also is something that I've been known to do. So,
no doubt. What motivated you to set up a home gym in the first place, long before it was popular or even necessary due to lockdown?
yeah, so I think for me, there's a couple things that kind of were a catalyst for building my first home gym, which was in 2015. I want to say was my first home gym. Number one was we bought our first home, so I had the space. Previously, I'd always rented or had roommates where we shared a house and shared spaces. And I didn't want to invest in big, heavy equipment that, number one, I wasn't sure if the landlord would approve of. And number two, I moved around a lot too. Like I would keep a lease in a place for maybe a year or two and then move to a new place. I didn't want to have to lug it back and forth. So we bought a new home, which was great because I had a lot of open space, a lot of stuff to deal with. Also, at that same time, I was considering building a home gym. The gym that I had gone to, and there's not very many, what I would say, powerlifting available gyms here. There's like your general purpose commercial style gym that doesn't have the best equipment for how I like to train. I did find one, but they were going to a private facility because they were part of a rehab center. So it was only going to be for people who are in the rehab facility. So it kind of cemented my idea in order to do it. And at the time I thought I was going with a very expensive setup with a 6-post rack and some Rogue weights. And I think I ended up spending like $4,000 or $5,000. And I was like, holy geez, this is overkill. Yeah. This is way too much money. And at the time people were like, you're spending way too much money. And then here I am. I recently did an updated home gym tour video and it was like, I'm at like 60 some grand. So
yeah.
So back then I'm looking at that was a budget gym for me, I guess, back in the day.
Yeah. That's crazy. So your setup has evolved over the years, and some of it seemed to correlate with some of those moves you talk about. Did you ever imagine the extent of your current setup, the way you have it, and are you close to satisfied with what you have now?
No, I did not imagine it would be like this. So in the past year, I've really made a concerted effort to add my own imprint on everything. So that's why I'm trying to color match everything. I've done a lot of stuff incorporating my logos, sayings, like the aesthetic I've gone for, I've really updated in the past year. And I could recall again, when I bought that first rack 7 years ago now, I thought it was a big deal because I got a blue rack instead of like a white or a black one at the time. I'm like, oh, I'm going fancy. I'm getting a blue rack, and I made little jumps here into customization, but nowhere near where I am now. But that being said, I've talked about this in videos, one of the things, and we've kind of touched upon it already, some people have trouble training at home. I really like spending time in my basement, as evidenced by the fact I'm taking the Zoom call down here with you right now. It's like the stuff that I've put in the gym and the work that I've put into selecting the pieces and having how it all flows together is really exciting to me. I don't get sick of coming down the stairs to the basement and looking at this gym. Like I enjoy being down here. I wish I could train more just because I have so many toys to use.
Yeah.
But that being said, to your last question, I think I'm about done for now, only because I'm starting to run a little bit out of space. I recently rearranged some stuff and I have some other ideas to rearrange, and I don't want to buy stuff just for the sake of buying stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things I've tried to keep in mind for the reviews that I do on my channel too. A lot of people ask, oh, why don't you review this? Or why don't you review that? It's because I don't buy it because I don't see a need or a want for it. Right. I don't want to just buy stuff to buy stuff and review stuff to review stuff. I tend to review the stuff that I buy and the stuff that I want and just let people know how I feel about it. But at the current time, I don't have anything large in mind that I'm expecting or I want. And I say that fully knowing that tomorrow I have UPS freight coming to drop off about 1,100 pounds of weights. So
well, calibrated plates.
Well, so I'm actually going to switch out my calibrated plates to the Rogue thin Olympic USA one. So they're machined. They're the same footprint as a calibrated plate would be, but they're e-coat and they're black and they're in pounds. And one of the things I've been trying to do with my gym this past year too is kind of transition to more made in USA stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get rid of the other plates I currently have. I'm looking at them off to the side here because it's like a rainbow, and I'm going to go with the machined black made in USA that look like competition style plates on a new on a new weight tree I bought from Ghost, which was not a wise financial decision, but it looks awesome. And
Well, it definitely will help the aesthetics a little bit. Not that there's anything wrong with the rainbow. The calibrated plates are pretty cool.
that's right.
But you've had some custom pieces made, some collabs with certain manufacturers like Oak Club. Anything new in the works that you could share with us?
Yeah, so I think I posted on Instagram. And I'm glad you mentioned it because I forgot. I have a customized 9-bar holder on the way. So it's nothing necessarily fancy, but it was one of the only pieces I had left in my gym that wasn't what I would consider stock. So I just have like I have one that I got off of Amazon for like $70 from Valor Fitness. When we moved into the garage while we were building this house, and it was one of the last pieces like, hey, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. It doesn't really matter. And I saw Oak Club was doing customized bar holders. And I was like, let's see what they can do. And they really turned out a kick-ass piece. And I'm really excited to get it in. And I'll probably be one of the few people in the world with a customized bar holder.
Yeah, I seen you posted a picture of it on Instagram, I think, right?
Yep. So it should be here, I think, next week. And Oak Club's been great. I've been really lucky enough to establish some working relationships with some of these companies. Like we made the bench prop with Rogue. I've worked with William Strength, with Sorinex, with Oak Club. I have a stitched headwear cover coming for my competition bench from Stray Dog Fitness. That should be here soon as well. I have Irwin Fitness Supply making me some white roller cups, which I've had my hand in plenty of roller cups in the past.
I like their roller cups. They're pretty nice.
And what else? I don't even, I said I wasn't buying anything, and then it's like, I forgot there's like 8 things coming.
Yeah. So
but yeah,
what's the deal with the power bar that you're working on?
I forgot about that one too. So I was in talks with a company. Company basically came to me and said, hey, look, we want to design a power bar. We want you to be kind of the guiding light behind it. We want to build it to your specs and market it to the people that you would typically market a bar for. And I said, yeah, I'm more than happy to help consult, whatever. I enjoy talking equipment. And we went through the process. We designed the specs. We got a sample bar in with different types of knurl on it, just to kind of see what the best knurl would be. The initial goal was to have a stainless steel bar. And at the time that we had started the initial talks, it was kind of right around the time of the pandemic. So this has been in the works for a while.
Yeah.
But the problem is, from start to finish on this process, the list price of the bar was going to jump from just under $400 to about $5.50, so about $550. And I told them at that point, it didn't make sense to continue with it at the point, just because my goal was to create kind of a daily driver. So a bar that everyone would like, the specs were good, the finishes were good. And I think sub $400, that's a doable thing. But for many people, spending over $500 on a barbell, especially in this case from a manufacturer that someone might not be as familiar with as some of the bigger players, it just didn't make sense to push it. So that's kind of on hiatus for right now. I will say I'm currently testing a prototype bar from a well-known company and giving them some feedback on it, which should be out, I would think, soon. And then I also have a call tomorrow with another well-known company to consult with them on a few specialty bars that they're planning on coming out with. So it's fun to kind of just talk shop and just give my feedback. And it's nice to know that people value my opinion in some cases.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. So you have quite the collection of barbells, we know, and likely more in the future, as you just alluded to. What are your favorite 3 bars and why?
Yeah, so actually my favorite daily driver I just sold, which was my Rogue Ohio Power Bar in stainless steel that I got out of the Boneyard for like, I think I paid $225 for it at the time, and it retails for like 400 something. So this was before they jacked up all the prices. I usually suggest the Ohio Power Bar to most people. And I know it's kind of cliche because there's actually a lot of people out there that just don't like Rogue. But for me, for their price point to quality ratio, I think it's hard to beat. And for the Ohio Power Bar, one of the reasons I like it the most, just even for my own use, is because there's so many different flavors, meaning you can get it in any finish you want, from bare to zinc to chrome to Cerakote to stainless steel. You can get it in a 45-pound variant. You can get it in a 20 kg variant that has the comp collars on it. You can now get it in 3 different variants in terms of the aggressiveness of the knurl with the aggro bars that came out. So it's literally, it can be any bar that you want. So that is by far my favorite in terms of power bars. But I'm also partial to a lot of the American made ones. So even though I give Texas Power Bars a hard time because they're not a full 29 millimeters, I still think it's a classic bar. And I like Buddy Caps and what he's done with his company. So I still like to use it. I just don't recommend it for one bar if someone's just looking for one power bar. I also like my Strength Co Corpse bar. It's kind of a little bit more aggressive than the Ohio Power Bar, but it's, made in America. I like what Strength Co does. Obviously, I've bought a ton of their plates, but those would be like my top 3 power bars. And I say power bars just because I got 4 deadlift bars now. I have 2 or 3 squat bars. I have a transformer bar, trap bars, Cadillac bars, curl bars. I mean,
I think the only
it's kind of like picking your favorite kid. You can't just pick one, but they all have purposes.
I'm going to put you on the spot about that because I think the only Kabuki bar you don't have is probably their new deadlift bar, right? But if you could only pick one barbell moving forward, which one would it be?
Yeah. So I have the deadlift bar.
You have the Kabuki one?
Yep. So I have the Kabuki deadlift bar, the Duffalo bar, the transformer bar, the power bar, the Cadillac bar. I do not have their squat bar or their trap bar. Those are the 2 bars of theirs I do not have. Okay. If I had to pick just one bar, I would still pick the Ohio Power Bar 9 times out of 10. For my use case, which is mainly squatting, benching, and deadlifting, it is the perfect bar for me. So 45 pounds, stainless steel shaft, and I don't care about the sleeves. I used to be a stickler where I said, I need to have the sleeves stainless too. It doesn't matter to me as much because I found that bare steel sleeves for me and this environment that I'm in, which is temperature controlled, they don't really oxidize, don't really show as much rust. And it's not worth the extra $80 or so that they'll charge you to get full stainless. So Ohio Power Bar for me, easy answer.
All right, cool. So we're going to conclude real soon because I'm not sure how much time we have left on this meeting, but moving off topic, do you have any hobbies outside of fitness and lifting?
Yeah. So
trucks?
Interest. What's that?
Trucks?
Well, so not even trucks. I don't drive it enough. I never leave the house. I've had that truck for 8 or 9 months now. I think I've put like 2,400 miles on it only. I don't drive it that often. My other interests in the past have been, and it's kind of a weird one, but there is like this whole subculture on it is I really am interested in sports uniforms and team issued apparel. So like there's a point in time where I would go and just like on eBay and buy all the old team issued, warm-up jerseys and shorts from basketball teams and socks, which I still have. Like I'll have some NFL team socks, and I've been recently reacquiring a bunch of like NBA warm-up hoodies because I like they have like the big necks on them and the big hoodie, and they're kind of tapered in the back and they fit better because I'm 6'3" or whatever. So that's been an interest of mine. Other like hobbies though, like I'd like to say I do all this other exciting stuff, but I don't have the time, right? Between working my full-time job, between my family and 2 young boys and going to soccer and karate and skiing lately and just playing with them, spending time with my wife, and then training and making YouTube videos when I can. I don't have a lot of time outside of that. But if there was something that came up, I would obviously prioritize. There was a point in time where I was really kind of dabbling on the guitar, which I'm terrible at, but I would spend my nights there because typically I have from like 9 to 10 as my set free time where I don't have any obligations or opportunities. Right. And sometimes I'll do that. Sometimes I'll break out the Xbox or the PlayStation and play for a little bit, but it's not a huge interest of mine anymore either. And other times I'll just sit in bed and watch YouTube videos or hang out with my wife and do whatever. So not too exciting.
I'm grateful to have dropped the video game because that was just a crazy addiction, consumed so much of my time.
Well, see,
touched it in a while, thankfully.
That's the thing with me. It's like I really enjoy it, but at this point, a lot of those games are such a time commitment where it doesn't make sense. So if it's something that I can pick up and play for half an hour maybe, and then put it down, and then not have to like remember where I need to go or what I need to do, then I'll do that. But there's not many games out there these days. Yeah. So maybe I'll fire up an emulator and play some like Nintendo or Super Nintendo or something like that.
By the way, I think the truck came out awesome. I love the shoes you put on it. I think it looks pretty cool. So
thanks.
Nice
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm stewing on now is if I want to put on a new like an actual like bumper and put on some LED bars and just trick it out, only to sit in my garage and not drive it. It's probably not financially a smart decision, but I've never been accused of being a smart man before. So
All right. Well, in conclusion, for me, I think you've been a strong influence on the fitness gym community. I know, speaking for myself, you've done some really interesting videos, definitely on the equipment, on the training. You've helped steered me in a couple of interesting areas like the powerlifting, based on your recommendation for trying the TSA, which I'm still grateful for. I didn't really think I'd like powerlifting as much as I do, but realizing the strength gains is pretty damn cool. There have been a handful of times I've seen you post something on IG, and it's kind of motivated me to make sure I get my training in on that day. Not that I've ever really been lazy, but just sometimes seeing, someone hitting it hard will give you a little bit of an extra oomph to keep going. And I just want to thank you for being a solid resource for equipment and a lot of different areas that you've kind of dabbled in with supplements and nutrition. I had a few questions about that, but I know we're running short of time. I really want to thank you for definitely giving me some of your time for this. When I thought about doing a series on influencers, and you were like the first one that came to mind, I have a few other people that I want to reach out to. But anyway, any parting words on your behalf?
Yeah, I appreciate the kind words, especially because you said I motivate you to train instead of I motivate you to spend money, because that's what most people yell at me for. They're like, I need to stop following you because every time you post something, I end up buying more stuff, which for me is nice because now I think that I am not the only one spending all this money. So it's nice to hear. But like I said earlier, same thing back to you. I mean, I really enjoy seeing people who are interested and enthusiastic about training, especially as they get older and they're not just a kid anymore. And especially those that are looking to do stuff like, I know you give a lot back in terms of your reviews and stuff like that. And it's not easy to get on camera and do it. And even for me, after, more than 10 years of doing it, it's still awkward to talk to a camera. But a lot of the skills you pick up from doing stuff like this, I think it translates over to real life as well. It's made me better at my actual job. Because if you can talk to a camera for 30 minutes about knurling on a barbell, you can talk to a room full of people about some technical specs on a box of gear. So
yeah,
I appreciate it, Marcus.
For sure, man. I'm sure you've seen some of my first videos. It's painful to watch. It's just not easy to do. Very difficult. So kudos for keeping it going strong for so many years. And also, I want to thank you for some of your affiliate codes that help me save some money here and there. And keep looking out for them when I can. That's for sure.
It's funding my kids' college fund. So I appreciate anyone who uses that.
I hear you. Well, thanks again for your time, Brandon. I appreciate it. And stay big.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Marcus.
All right, buddy. Take care.